Hank Von Hell is out back again for Turbo Negro. I don't know why I keep forgetting my words. Yeah, Hank Von Hell is out with a new album called Egomania. It is the debut solo album from the former Turbo Negro frontman. And it's his first bit of musical output since 2011, when he fronted a supergroup called Dr. Midnight and the Mercy Cult, and they released an album called I Declared Treason. And it was very good, actually. I quite enjoyed it. For people who don't know who Hank Von Hell is, he used to be called a variety of names. When he was fronting Turbo Negro, he was Hank Von Helvete. And I'm only putting that accent on because I've been to Sweden, don't you know? And I vaguely remember how that word's meant to be pronounced. But basically, he made a career of double entendres, a lot of tongue-in-cheek jokes regarding, first of all, punk rock and how it can be a bit silly sometimes, and then just homosexuality. The way I see Hank is it's kind of like a punk rock equivalent of Rob Halford or a punk rock equivalent of Freddie Mercury, except Hank likes girls. That's pretty much the only difference, absolutely. And he wore more face paint. Egomania carries a lot of that trademark Turbo Negro sound. There's a lot of glam in it, so much glam. Lots of glam, lots of hard rock punch, that underlay and that little grittiness of punk rock, but it's got the modern production for today. And over time, I've realised I've become a lot more of a production snob, so I do enjoy the mixing and the production for this album. And it feels like every time you press play, by the time you finish the album, you're expected to wake up face down in a Brighton nightclub with a pocket full of bags of 2Ps. It is just so sleazy. I'll happily say I've never been a big fan of the glam metal scene, particularly from the 70s and 80s. Excuse me. Because it, again, contradicts everything you just said, but it leans, too close to like poppy, uber clean sound. And when I say this, I'm thinking of bands like Poison and I can't remember the other one, Skid Row. If it was gritty like this, which I know is like technically it's glam punk or whatever, if it was gritty like this, I feel like A, glam metal in general would be a completely different beast, and B, I think I'd be all over that. I'd be walking out and about wearing skinnier trousers, like leather leopard print trousers. No one wants that, but I'll rock it. Lyrically, it's still completely ridiculous. Oh my god. So the opening track is called Pretty Decent Exposure. That is a song about walking around town with your dick out. And then the follow-up to that is a track called Blood. And it is the cheesiest brass-backed track, which is really difficult to say. That's why I had to slow down a bit. And it's all about menstruation. So you've got it's all encompassing. You've got if you're a lady person or if you're a manly person, you've got a bit for everything. I was having a look at finding out what other people thought about this album, because Turbo Negro has a very cult following. Their fan base is called I think it's a Turbo Jugend, something like that. And it's to the point where they get together once a year and they hold like a mini festival that Turbo Negro play pretty much every year. They get a variety of different acts in to play it as well. They have such a strong, very serious following. And I feel like everyone who's out, a lot of the reviews I've seen that are completely outside the bubble just say it's too daft, it's too this, it's too that. This is absolutely not an album to be taken seriously. It's the sort of thing you have on in the background of a party, or if you're doing something else you just want like the filter noise. It's just, you can tap your foot to it, you can sing along to it. It is such a fun album, and it's becoming very difficult to find fun albums. Like, put it on the same line as Andrew WK. Like, I must admit, I wasn't a big fan of his album that came out last year. But that, just a general essence of, you put it on just to chill out, just to have a bit of a laugh, have a bit of fun. And I feel that's glossed over a lot of people on this one. But if you do want to look at like the serious intricacies of this album, the guitar work on here is just fucking incredible. It's a newer guitar, I think it's a completely new guitar. It's called Cat Casino. Well, that's what the name she's been going by. And for a guitarist who, from what I understand, has no other notes or no other like releases under her belt, to work with Hank, they've never worked before, obviously. Hank's got such a like back catalogue of releases. I think he's been Turbo Negro's first album was 94, I think. It's like 20 plus year lineage. To work with him straight away as your first project, they work together so well. And she keeps things so interesting without taking away from the star of the show, which is obviously Hank, and complements him so well. The song at the end, the album closer, Adios, Where's My Sombrero, it sounds like if Fallout was ever set in Mexico. It's first half of the song is a very slow paced, on a steel guitar. Just you can almost feel yourself just like milling about somewhere. And the second half of it is borderline thrash metal song. And that helps it. For the isolated song, it's really great. As a whole, for the album, the contradiction between her and Hank with the upbeat, cheesy songs, so things like Blood and Wild Boy Blues, which are a fucking great song, it is intermixed with very like slower pace. It's songs that sound serious, but when you read the lyrics, you realise that, oh yeah, he's just a bit of a daft bastard. But for example, you've got the song Bum to Bum, which is the lead single. That is a very upbeat hard rock song. Then you got Never Again, which is a very slow, bluesy, heavy metal song. And then you're on Bomb Walk Chic, which is a very like glammy, upbeat song again. And there's a couple of songs that do what Never Again do. They just sort of slow the pace down after you've spent all this time getting really, really into it. And it does hurt it a little bit. Not... Yeah, it does hurt it, because you kind of want to keep it going. It's kind of like a pie. You do want to keep it going, keep the excitement up, and then you've got one person who keeps talking about his girlfriend that left him. That's a bummer, dude. Take that shit out elsewhere. I'm sorry, I don't care about feelings. I compared this to the more recent Turbo Negro stuff. I haven't listened to the new album, because I did not realise they released one. Apparently Turbo Negro released an album this year. Who knew? So I went back to the first album they did with Tony Sylvester, who was the replacement for Hank in Turbo Negro, called Sexual Harassment. And listen to Sexual Harassment now, you kind of feel like something is missing. And I think it's down to the vocal delivery. So whereas Hank is very... You can tell he's like a punk vocalist, but his delivery in his vocals, it's almost camp, which is a weird thing to say. It's very... No matter the song, he's even got a song called like All My Friends Are Dead and Denim Demon and I Got Erection. Every single song, it's a very whimsical, very light-hearted delivery, whereas Tony Sylvester is by the sound of it, he's a really good punk vocalist, but he just doesn't fit. For me, at least, I might be completely off, but for me, he just doesn't fit quite right in that very flamboyant, very easygoing Turbo Negro sound that made them famous. Might just be me. It's probably unfair because, like I said, Sexual Harassment was released in 2011, 2012, early 2010s, which is a weird thing to say. And so it's probably unfair to judge him based on record number one with his new band. So I might try and find a Turbo Negro one and report back. But I think this album is just hilarious fun. Not to the point where it's a comedy album, but yeah, if you're a fan of that old school Turbo Negro sound, I really think you'll enjoy this. If you're a fan of Steel Panther, more the sound over the vocal lines again. Like I said, Hank Von Hell doesn't take himself too seriously, but I would not say this is a comedy album. And also Volbeat as well, I found myself drawing comparisons to, based on how Volbeat can do that pretty chill hard rock sound, but still have like enough of a heavy metal backing to really bring it along. But yeah, Turbo Negro, Steel Panther, Volbeat. If you like any of them, I reckon you're really into, well, really be into Hank Von Hell with Egomania.